What's up guys, Asian here again with another PTS video, and today we're going to be taking a look at Scathing Mage. So Scathing Mage is a light armor set that you can get from the Imperial City Prison DLC, I should say Imperial City Prison Dungeon from the Imperial City DLC. And it was changed on the Harrowstorm PTS to kind of adjust its proc conditions, making it a little bit stronger, so we see a little bit of a buff in Harrowstorm. The question is, of course, how much of a buff did it actually receive? So, for those guys who are unaware of Scathing Mage's bonuses, just pull it up really quickly. Here is Scathing Mage on the PTS right now, so it adds Max Magicka, 2 spell crits, 4 on a 3 and 4 piece, and then the 5 piece when you deal direct damage. You have a 20% chance to increase your spell damage by 516 for 5 seconds. This effect can occur once every 5 seconds. On the live server right now, the 5-piece proc condition is when you deal direct critical damage. So on live right now, you basically have to deal a critical hit with a direct damage ability, which is fairly limiting. So Scathing Mage is not widely used in PvE content on the live server, but here, because it's just direct damage, now things that I've normally proc Scathing Mage will still proc Scathing Mage for light attacks, heavy attacks, your spambles if your spamble is considered direct damage, but it no longer has to be a critical hit. So in theory, we should be getting higher uptimes on Scathing Mage on the PTS compared to how it is currently on live. So that should be a little bit of a buff because we have a little bit of a better uptime. At least that's what the thinking is. So what I basically did was I did a couple of parses on a Magicka Sorcerer because Magsorcs typically use something like Force Pulse or Elemental Weapon for their spamble. Force Pulse in particular will give us the best chance of proccing Scathing Mage because it's 3 direct damage hits. So people who typically use Scathing Mage on PvE on the live server right now also tend to use Force Pulse as a spamble because it does deal, again, those 3 direct damage hits. So you have 3 separate chances to proc Scathing Mage that way. So all the other classes, with a few exceptions, do tend to use either a class spamble, which is only a single direct damage hit. So we're sticking with the Magicka Sorcerer here because most Magsorcs will be using Force Pulse if you don't have access to Elemental Weapon as a spamble. Now really quickly going over the build, the 2 sets that I remained constant throughout the entire fight, all the parses was obviously Zahn for our Monster Helm set, and then Sororia as our front bar set with 3 spell damage glyphs, 3 bloodthirsty. We have a precise flame enchant on the front bar, and then we have a Maelstrom Inferno Staff on the back bar with an infused weapon damage enchant. So the only thing I really swapped out was the body set here, so I tried out 4 different sets. Scathing Mage was the first one. Then I compared it to the traditional Mother's Sorrow. Then I compared it to another proc set that is also fairly commonly used if you're trying to get Mother Sorrow's pieces. That's Burning Spellweave. And then, as you guys can tell here, I also tested against Perfected False Gods. Now, Perfected False Gods and Sororia is not usually a combination you would typically see, but I thought it'd be interesting to see how it compares to something like False Gods Devotion as a body set anyway. So, taking a look at our bars as well. So I am using a pet build, as you can tell from the matrix that's flying behind me. So I did end up using Lightning Flood here. This is just sort of just to get parses done. This is not necessarily any sort of indication for what the actual Magsorc build will look like when the patch goes live. But this is just something that I decided to work with. The good thing is everything pretty much remained constant throughout each of the different parses. It was just that one set that changed. So, starting off first with Scathing Mage. So we pulled 72.6k DPS, and our uptime with Scathing Mage was 66%. This is probably close, a little bit higher than what I normally see on the live server right now. Normally on the live server, I see anywhere between 50 to 60% is typically what I normally see. And the thing with Scathing Mage is because it's a proc condition, it's a little bit hard to get a good sense of what a good uptime is, especially on the live server because it only procs on direct critical damage. Here, since it procs on direct damage, we should see obviously a little bit of an increase in uptime compared to how it is on live, and it is reflected a little bit here. So 66% uptime on Scathing Mage here. The next parse is going to be with Mother Sorrow. This one we pulled 75.9k here if we round up to the nearest 100. So we can tell that definitely stronger than Scathing Mage here. Now, if we take a look at Crystal Frag procs, there is some proc RNG involved with max works, especially if you're running Crystal Frags. 46 procs here compared to 41 procs. And if we take a look at our average crit, 56.4 to 63.4. So we should be getting higher crits with Mother's Sorrow. But it does seem like our crit chance here seems to be pretty comparable overall, just based on the fact that we're running Mother Sorrow on the other parts here. I didn't standardize for crit chance at all, but in terms of frags, 41 versus 46, it's a little bit of a difference there, so that might lend to why the Mother Sorrow part's a little bit higher, but it certainly doesn't fully explain at the very least a full 3k discrepancy. Next we have Burning Spellweave here. We pulled just shy of 75k here. 41 procs as well, so this is pretty much 1-to-1 compared to Scathing Mage for frag procs, so don't have to worry about frag proc RNG. And our uptime from Burning Spellweave is 58%, so pretty decent. It's not going to be quite as high as on, let's say, a Mag Decay, because obviously we don't have as much fire damage here. We do have unstable wall of elements, we do have that one hit from Force Pulse, and obviously light attacks will help proc Burning Spellweave. 58% uptime on Burning Spellweave is, all in all, pretty decent. And then finally, our False God's Devotion parse, we pulled just under 72.9k. So you can see here that essentially, we are doing pretty badly when it comes to Scathing Mage. Uptime definitely is higher. The thing with Scathing Mage is, at the very least on live, your uptimes can fluctuate wildly, just based on kind of your RNG luck. With the change that it is no longer just critical direct damage, just direct damage, we should see a little bit less fluctuation with Scathing Mage, because now we're not reliant on crit RNG as well. But it doesn't seem to have increased by a lot. I wasn't expecting us to hit anything from like 80 to 85% uptime, but 66% uptime is a little bit underwhelming. I highly suspect that if I did a few more parses, I'd probably get a average probably closer to 70-75%, maybe upwards of 80%, but even then, Scathing Mage probably isn't going to end up beating out something like Mother Sorrow or even Burning Spellweave. Again, Burning Spellweave here pulled just shy of 75k, and we have 54.5% crits versus 56.4% crits. So this is pretty decent in terms of crit chance. Doesn't seem like this is an abnormally high crit chance here on the Burning Spellweave parse. This just might be because Burning Spellweave just provides more spell damage. So we have 5807 here compared to 5616. It's about 200 max spell damage difference. 5214 for Armin versus 5336, so about 110 additional spell damage bonus here, which might explain why we're seeing a little bit higher DPS with Burning Spellweave here compared to running Scathing Mage. But of course, I would have to do several more parses just to kind of get an idea of what our average DPS might end up being, and obviously standardize across crit chance. But generally speaking, I would say the Scathing Mage change was a buff, but it's not a large enough buff for me to recommend running it. I would still say Mother Sorrow is going to be your best set piece to get, and I would not recommend farming for Scathing Mage unless you already have it. But that concludes this video. Hopefully you guys found this informative. Let me know down in the comment section below if there's anything else you would like me to test on the PTS. As a reminder, balance changes are coming in 5.3.2, so that's next week, not this week. So just be aware of that. Some of the things I'm testing over this week and next and last week might change once 5.3.2 is released. Again, hope you guys found this informative, and I'll see you guys in the next dungeon. What's up guys, Asian here with kind of addendum to the video. I know I said it would end the video, but clearly it's still going. I realize now that a lot of people will probably ask about using Scathing Mage as a front bar set rather than just a body set like I tested earlier. So I went ahead and did a few tests with Scathing Mage as a front bar set, and here are the parses that I came up with. Starting off first with Mother Sorrow as our front bar set here, we pulled 73k, just over 73k. And then here, this is with Burning Spellweave as our front bar set, we pulled 72.1k. And then here with Scathing Mage, we pulled just shy of 72k as well. So taking a look at the uptimes, 50-60% uptime on Scathing Mage, so 10% lower than when we had it on the body, which makes sense because you can only proc it while you're on your front bar here. Burning Spellweave, also lower, 52% uptime compared to 58 from when we had it on body. Again, just makes sense. It's on the front bar. We're not going to be on the front bar all the time to proc Burning Spellweave. Then Mother's Sorrow here. Obviously, no proc, this is a flat set bonus, so our mean crit chance is going to end up being lower because we're not obviously on our front bar nearly as long, but we should be spending a majority of our time on our front bar here. You can see here 63% of our time was spent on our front bar compared to 37% on our back bar, which is rough, a little bit lower than what I would normally do. Normally I try to do 66 or higher on my front bar and 33% or lower on my back bar, so could be a little bit better. But generally speaking, the results are pretty much what we got from when we ran the set as a front bar set. Mother Sorrow still pulls out ahead in this instance by about 1k or so, and then Burning Spellweave and Scathing Mage, the gap is pretty much within margin of error here. It's only about a 100 DPS difference, which I would chalk up to just some crit RNG perhaps. Crystal Frag procs 42 on the Scathing Mage versus 42 on Burning Spellweave. So we know it's not the Crystal Frag procs, but it could be just uptime on the procs because they are still proc sets. So we could have a Scathing Mage parse where our proc goes up by a lot, and there could be parses where our Scathing Mage proc goes down by a lot, and the same thing with Burning Spellweave. So while the Scathing Mage changes have buffed the set, the ultimate conclusion that we got from running it as a body set hasn't really changed at all. Ultimately, the set itself just doesn't really justify farming for it when you have a set like Mother Sorrow, which you can just buy off guild traders and just run it as either a front bar or a body set, and it'll be stronger no matter what. So I personally would not recommend farming for Scathing Mage. It's just really not worth it. Again, you're talking about a 1k DPS difference, so it's ultimately up to you. It's fairly small. It's about 1.5% difference in DPS. But if you are one of those min-maxers, then I would say just don't even bother with Scathing Mage. Just stick with Mother Sorrow. But now this is the actual end of the video. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys in the next dungeon.